Cincinnati Bengals suffered another close loss in Week 13, and now they get to travel to Dallas, take on the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 14 matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and Dallas Cowboys. But before we get into that, we do have a goal of getting to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. So, Ryan, Cincinnati Bengals once again put up 35-plus points and walking away with a loss. Absolutely tough. It's kind of crazy, actually. It's going to be interesting to look back at this season to look at the numbers that Joe Burrow and this offense has put up and how they will more than likely not have a winning record. It's going to be kind of wild.
Well, they'd have to win their next 5 games to not have a winning record. Or to have a winning record. And they still play, I believe they still play Pittsburgh, Denver, Cleveland, and Tennessee. This week, I like their chances, but they have to win out for them to potentially be 9-8. And actually, if they win out, they'd have a wild card spot. But it's just a really tough situation that this defense has put them in, being so bad. I mean, in points allowed, they have to be 32nd in the league. I mean, they are consistently giving up. They give up 44, 34, 35, 24, then 37, 14, 7, but then 41, 24, 38, 26, and then 16.
So I will say, so they are 27th ranked in total yards allowed, 27th ranked in passing yards allowed, 22nd in rushing yards allowed. And just for point of fact, 29th in total sacks on the season. About half of those more than half of those actually I think are Trey Hendrickson. So I say that specifically because his production is mainly coming from one guy. But so I say that they have a couple of outliers overall when it comes to just their overall performance as a team. Week 1 performance, only 290 yards allowed against your New England Patriots, 286 yards allowed against the Chiefs. In Week 9, they only gave up 217 yards against the Raiders. Other than that, they've given up nearly 350 yards or more, if not a lot more.
In every game.
Yeah, they've given up 520 yards twice so far this season. Once to Baltimore in Week 1, and the first time they played, which was in Week 5. Week 5, and then this most recent game against Pittsburgh. And this one I think is peculiarly egregious, just because I will say it's not like Russell Wilson and this passing offense are world beaters. Like they have George Pickens, who's above average receiver, a good receiver. They have some other good role player guys, but like you had Van Jefferson breaking off 30-40 yard.
So
everything we're just wide open.
I watched this game, but this is the first time I'm seeing Russell Wilson's stats. This looks like the Seahawks Russell Wilson with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, like Golden Tate. Like that offense where he's 29 of 38 for 414 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Which is just insane.
Yeah. But in their first game, right? Russell Wilson's first game was the Jets, correct?
I believe so.
So he has had a couple of good games, but statistically, since then. So the Jets gave me a 260, 259 against the Giants. So he dominated New Jersey in his first 2 starts. Then he had 248 in last week's loss against Cleveland Browns, but nothing really super crazy overall. Then all of a sudden a randomly 410-yard passing performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. And these are team passing yards, so sacks are included. And so whatever he actually ended up at is maybe a little bit more than that. But still, that's what I think is kind of crazy. And then on top of that, too, they ran for 110 yards. So, this Bengals defense is not good. This Bengals offense is borderline elite, if not elite with Joe Burrow and everything. They're going to be going up against a Cowboys team who won on Thanksgiving in the Drew Lock Cooper Rush Turkey Bowl. So they're able to squeak that one out. Thought they looked solid, but it's going to – Cowboys, though, they're injured as well. They're getting healthy on the defensive side of the ball. And that, to me, I think is going to be the biggest overall matchup is how do these two defenses do against their offenses, the opposing team offenses, in totally different ways. It's like, can the Cowboys contain the just just greatness of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and this entire team. Then on the flip side, can the Bengals actually play defense, or will they make Cooper Rush look like Russell Wilson? That's going to be the biggest deal. Luckily for the Bengals is Dallas Cowboys just cannot run the ball. But maybe they can against the Cincinnati team. Those are the questions. That's just the biggest overall questions going into this matchup here.
Yeah, and that for me, like one of the big things too. So on top of all the injuries that the Cowboys have already had, CeeDee Lamb hurt his shoulder again for the second time this year. So he's going to be questionable for this matchup on Monday night. He does have like 3 extra days compared to if this was like a Sunday to Sunday game.
Yeah.
But so like that'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. This team is really banged up, but I could really see this being another like 35-31 type game, just with how bad the Bengals defense is, but then also just how good this offense is, because Jamar Chase is having a fantastic year. Joe Burrow's having a fantastic year. It's just not quite enough for them to be outscoring all of these teams. So.
Well, but that's going to be the thing, though, is can Dallas's offense manufacture long drives, keep this offense off the field, put up points, make the Bengals have to go down and score and be elite, just how like how they have been all year. Yeah. And I think they will. I think I think the question for the Dallas Cowboys defense is how much can they just contain the Bengals offense? Can they keep them below 30 points? Yeah. And then the follow-up question into that for the Cowboys is then can the Cowboys put up 30 points? Because Bengals team, as you mentioned, can give up a lot of points. They've obviously given up a lot of yards as well. So that's what I think is going to be the big factor is which defense shows up and plays. Can the Bengals figure something out? If I'm the defensive coordinator, I'd probably be looking for a new job coming up here this offseason. I'm trying to remember Zach Taylor. He is an offensive guy, right?
Yeah, he's the offensive mind.
So that's where I know we're going to be a lot of questions coming up, and I don't think he's the problem at all. In my opinion, it's because offensively they're one of the best offenses in the league. Yeah. They've had so many close games that they've lost, even to if you go back to their last loss, the Chargers loss. I'm pretty sure that was their last loss. They win that game if Evan McPherson can make a field goal. Now, of course, it's a 50-plus yarder, yes, but he missed 2 of them, in the final 4 minutes of the game. So I don't think you can hold those things to Zach Taylor. Maybe you can for the defense, for sure, and in that performance. But in general, though, you got to win in this league, and I think that they've done well. I just think they're just having one of those years where – like they just finding new ways. I think what was the joke is like you've heard the cardiac kids. It's like this Bengals team was like the cardiac arrest kids. It's just different ways that they can just end up losing games.
Well, I know we talked a lot about the Bengals, but you remember like a few years ago the Kirk Cousins Vikings, where it's like they had a negative point differential, but they were still like 11-3. It's like that, but reverse. It's like they are like this is one of the best offenses in the league, but they're 4-8, and it's like simply just because they can't stop anyone on the defense. And so real quick on the Cowboys, I mean, they're just so injured also. Like this offensive line is banged up. Tyler Guyton and Zach is it Zach Thomas? Zach Martin. Yeah. Got injured as well in that Thanksgiving Day game. CeeDee Lamb, as I already mentioned, is hurt. Brandon Cooks did come back from injury and caught a touchdown, I believe, in that Thanksgiving game. So I guess that's good. Micah Parsons has come back and been effective since he's returned. DeMarcus Lawrence is still out, but they are just banged up all over the place. And it was a rough season outside of the first week for the Dallas Cowboys to begin with, but then you throw in all the injuries on top of it, and it's just going to be a really tough. I think they're going to have a lot of tough conversations this offseason just about the coaching staff, some of the personnel that's on the team. And I think they're going to this might be the start of a pseudo rebuild because they have the quarterback. I think they have the wide receiver. I do like the Tyler Guyton pick. I think he's been promising in stints for them at left tackle. Tyler Smith has been decent at left guard as well. And so they've done a good job. Obviously Micah Parsons there. So I think they just need a change in philosophy and then that could potentially be the difference for this Cowboys team. But with that being said, let's jump into predictions here. I'll go first on this one because I'm pretty sure we agree. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think the big difference here is I think the Cowboys are going to find ways to stop themselves on offense, whether it's penalties, whether it's just mistakes, putting the ball in harm's way. I think that Cincinnati is going to be able to capitalize on some of those mistakes, and I think Cincinnati gets one on the board here in Dallas.
Yeah, I know Dallas got their first win at home on the season, and I think in the entire year, if you want to go back to the playoffs of last year. But I think they go back to their losing ways at home as well. I just think I think that they're just going to the Bengals offense is just going to show up once again and put up 35 points here and get a win. It's going to be crazy though, because just the way things have been going, would not be surprised if they find another way to lose here. And for the Bengals, their playoff chances are not over, but they're pretty much over. Ironically, they do have a relatively easier schedule because they have this game at Tennessee and then host Cleveland.
Yeah.
So they got to win those 3 games. But then they actually do play Denver in week 17. And then they're at Pittsburgh in week 18, which is going to be a huge game. They need some help from Denver, and they need Cleveland to beat Denver on Monday night here in week 13. But Denver does have a bye, so they actually have a whole they also only have 5 games left on the season as well. So it's going to be possible, but if Denver wins and then if Denver beats the Colts coming out of their bye in week 15, I think it's going to be too tough for Cincinnati to come back. Crazier things have happened, but we'll have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, they're one more unlucky break from being eliminated from the playoffs in my eyes, and so
they probably already are.
And that for me, I think that's just how the season has gone for them. So we're both taking the Bengals here in this matchup. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap this one up. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Cincinnati Bengals? Will it be the Dallas Cowboys? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.